Hello guys, welcome back to your 8th C++ tutorial. Now in the previous tutorials we have almost covered all the basics. There's just one more concept left, and that is array. Array is basically a collection of similar data elements, right? So suppose there are 50 students in a class and I want to store the values of all the 50 students. So I'll not sit all day and write A1, A2, A3 till A50, right? There has to be a way to make 50, reserve 50 places in a single statement, right? So that's where array comes in. What we can do is we can just go ahead, we can write mark or whatever name you want to give it, and we can just specify 50. So what this statement basically means is reserve 50 integers who will be referenced by the name mark, right? So what happens is the reference or the index, this is called the index or the subscript, right? So it starts from 0 and it goes until 49. Alright, just one less than what we define, right? So if we say 50, it is actually from 0 to 49 in the memory. Just remember this, the total size minus 1, right? We'll need it in the loops. Okay, so that's what an array is. It's a collection of similar data elements. You cannot have 25 characters and 25 integers in a single array. That is not possible. That is the drawback of an array, right? Another drawback is if you need to insert an element somewhere in between, you need to shift the entire array here and there. Okay, we'll get to that. So now let's go ahead and read the 50 marks, right? So I'll ask the user to enter, maybe enter the marks, right? But it would be really hectic if I have to sit and enter so many marks right now. So what I am going to do is I'll first ask the user to tell me how many students are there, right? How many students are there, because it's not necessary that every class has 50 students. Let us suppose the maximum one can have is 50, right? So in my class there are only suppose 30 students, so I'll skip the 20 places, right? That is the only problem. I cannot have 30, or I cannot define this at a runtime. I have to declare it initially. That's another drawback of array. So I'll take n, maybe, so I'll define another integer called n and I, which I'll need for the loop, right? So again, when I say enter the marks, I'll not write 50 different cout statements, right? So that's basically it's about repeating a particular set of statements many times. So that's where loops come in, right? So I'll just go ahead and I'll see in a mark of I, right? So just I want to emphasize on this thing here, guys. In case of array, it is preferable to start from 0 and go to size minus 1, right? Because I less than n is basically I less than size minus 1. So if n is, I suppose n is 5, right? So the loop will run from 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that's exactly what we want. Suppose we started from 1 and we take it till less than equal to n. It will be valid in other cases, but here we need to store it in 0, right? So if we enter 1 here, the first value will be stored in 1 and the 0 value, mark of 0 will store garbage value, right? So that's not what we want to make to happen, right? So that's basically the best way to use loops with arrays. Better we start it from 0 and take it to n. Okay, so that this piece of code will take whatever, however number of values the user wants, right? So let's go ahead and write how to display them again. So here's what you entered, right? So again we need to, I'll not write cout 50 times, right? So we'll need another loop here, same conditions. Instead of cin, I'll just write cout mark of I and end l, maybe, to make it a more clear, right? So that's about it. Let's go ahead and save it and try to run it. Alright, how many students? 5 students. Enter the marks: 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. Here's what you entered: 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. See? Perfect. So that's the basic thing about arrays. Let me tell you once again. Array is a collection of homogeneous data types. This statement tells the compiler to reserve 50 integer values which will be referenced by mark. It starts from mark of 0 to mark of 49. Right. Now let's inculcate a bit of the function concept here. Suppose if I want to search a particular value in my array, right? So for that I'll need an array, obviously, array and the value which is to be searched, right? So that's the basic syntax of the function in place. Now what you can do is you can just go ahead, copy it, and you can paste it here as it is, or just remove the name. You can leave the name here as it is, but that's not recommended, right? So just remove these names. Alright, so that's the prototype of the function. Here the definition will come. The other thing is left is the function call, right? So before actually calling the function, I need to ask the user about which value do you want, right? Which value is to be searched, right? So that I'll store in, let's say, key, right? So I need a key here, key, there we go. Okay, which values to be searched. Now we don't actually need to display all these values, so let's go ahead and comment it off. Right, so which values to be entered that the user will give us. Then we'll call the function search, we'll pass the array and the value, right? So again, while passing an array to a function, you don't actually need to include these brackets, right? That's not necessary. We are left with the definition, of course. Another little tip, guys, whichever name I give here, alright, and the name of the array here need not be similar. Alright, so what this statement basically is going to do is it will copy the values of mark into the value of array and the value of key to the value of key. I can give it any name I want, right? Again, I'll need two more variables here, I n, because the variables which are declared inside a particular function are valid only for those functions, right? So there are two ways to solve this problem. Either I can go ahead and I can define the variables right here, so they can be used anywhere. Now whenever we define variables outside the main, they are called global variables, which I am not going to do in this case, and the variables which are defined inside a particular function are called local variables, right? So as the name suggests, local variables are valid only within that function, and global variables can be accessed by all the functions. So since this is another function, I cannot access the variables of the main function with this one. Alright, so we'll need to search the value. So let's again go ahead and write a loop, because we'll have to scan through the entire array, right? I plus plus. So if the array location matches with my key, right, I need to tell them the element is found, else that element doesn't seem to exist, right? You write whatever you want, I wrote whatever I want, right? So what this will do is this will start the loop, then it will from the first position it will go on checking until the last one. If the value of key is matched somewhere, it will say the element is found, else it will print that element does not seem to exist, right? There will be one problem with this thing, but let's go ahead and check the problem. If it will be better if you see the problem first before I tell you the solution, right? Alright, I want 5 again, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 5 maybe. Here's what you entered. Oh, I forgot to comment that one. No problem. Which value is to be entered? I'll need 9. That element does not seem to exist. So as I said, there's a problem with this one, right? Because I entered 9 there, so it has to be there somewhere. Alright. So as I said, there will be a problem, right? Here's what the problem is. We have not given the value of n to the function, right? So it is taking some garbage value. The loop will not run any, the loop will simply not run because it does not know that user entered 5, right? Because whatever we have taken, the value of n is stored in the main function, it's not stored in this search function right here. So either we can define it global, or we can again pass another argument here, right? So instead of passing another argument, let's go ahead and make it global, right? So I and n, right? So now I'll need to remove this thing because it will say multiple declaration, right? Int key, int mark. All right, seems good. So is it all right? Let's go ahead and see. I don't think so. There will be just one more problem, right? 6 7 8 9 5, maybe I want 6. Whoa, the element is found but does not exist, does not exist, does not exist, does not exist. What is this? Okay, it's found, right? Means the code is correct. So I'll tell you what the problem is. For each value of the key, whenever the key is not found, it will go ahead and it will print that element does not seem to exist because the cout statement is inside the loop, right? So what we are actually doing here is that if the value is found, print element is found, else if the value is not found, print that element does not seem to exist. So in the very first location the value was found, so there it printed element is found, but in the remaining places this thing will be printed, right? So there are two solutions to this particular problem. What we can do is, either we can go ahead, we can make a block and use the break statement which I told you about. So once the element is found, the loop will break, right? Or the other solution is we can use a temporary variable int temp, right? So we don't need break in this case. So what we can do is we can modify the value of temp here. Temp is equal to 1, right? Else make it something like temp is equal to 2, right? So again, after the loop, what we can do is, if the value of temp is 1, make sure you use double equal to, right? Because single equal to is initialization, double equal to is comparison, right? So if I write if temp is equal to 1, so this is valid always, right? Because we are storing the value of temp as 1 in this case, but in this case we are checking if temp is 1 or not, right? So what we can do is, if temp is equal to 1, then go ahead and see out the element is found, right? And else or else if temp is equal to 2, just go ahead and print out that element does not seem to exist, right? There we go. Let's go ahead and check it once again. Temp, so it will keep on searching. If the element is found, it will change the value of temp to 1, else the value of temp will be changed to 2. So if the value of temp is changed to 1, it means the element has been found. If the value of temp is 2, it means the element does not have been found. Else we can just, you can just go ahead and see out something, something is wrong maybe. That's all. Let's go ahead and check our code. I guess now this will run fine. How many students are there? 5 1 2 4 5 6 7. Which value is to be entered? 7 is to be searched. The element is found. There we go, as simple as that. So we solved the problem, right? So what I wanted to do is, I wanted to go ahead and try out the other way which I was telling you to. Just use that break statement and try to figure out a way to exit the loop if the element is found, right? So that's about the integer arrays. To deal with character arrays, we need some other knowledge, right? So I'll tell you about character arrays in the next tutorial. That's it for this tutorial, guys. See you soon.